Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Devi Daily Yoga for this yin yoga practice for the spine and the lower body. This is a practice that's specifically designed to target fascia, and we find fascia most prominently in these parts of the body, the thighs, the hips, and the spinal column. So we will be releasing tension from these areas with long and passive stretches. So I'm looking forward to this session. You won't need any props. We'll just go ahead and roll out our mats and begin our yin yoga practice. We'll begin in child's pose. So go ahead and climb onto hands and knees and settle your hips back towards your heels with your knees a comfortable distance away from one another so you can sink your ribs down in between your knees. Feel the contact of your palms to the ground, your knees, and the fronts of your feet. And inhale your breath. Exhale and soften back through the tailbone, soften down into the floor with your forehead. And take another breath in to fill the back from shoulder to shoulder. Exhale, relax the spine down into the body. And another big breath in to expand your whole torso. Exhale, soften the whole torso, the ribs. Relaxing now into the support of the floor, letting your body surrender into gravity and into stillness. And now slowly come up and slowly find your way to a seated position. And we'll take the legs out in front with the feet on the floor, the knees bent and the hands behind, and just let the knees come side to side in this windshield wiper kind of movement. When the knees go one way, maybe you look to the opposite side over the shoulder, moving the energy through the spine after that gentle spine stretch. And let's go ahead and come up and send the legs out in front for caterpillar. Taking caterpillar pose now over the legs, hands on the shins, ankles, or feet. Feel free to use any props that you like to have for your yin practice under your head or under your seat. And now we're stretching the entire back line of the body, up the legs and up the spine. And take a big breath into the back body now. As you exhale, can you soften your shoulders and head down, allowing the rounding to happen in the spine so that you can access the layers of fascia on the back part of the spinal column. Continuing to breathe and continuing to surrender into gravity. Slowly now release, rise back up and take the legs in, crossing at the ankles to come into a seated position. Take one hand onto each knee and round your spine back. We'll take some seated cat and cows. With the inhale, bring it forward into the back bend, shoulders back. And exhale, once again, round your spine and rock back on your tailbone. And inhale, once again, open your chest. Exhale and round the spine. One more time, forward into the back bend. And now we'll just roll forward over the legs to come into our dragon pose. Hands and knees position. From here, let's take the right knee forward into a lunge. Softening and holding here for 2 minutes. We're holding all of our postures for 2 minutes today. As we soften into the front of the left thigh, the front of the left hip, breathing into this line of fascia. You might choose to lift your chest a little bit more. You might choose to tilt your hips one way or the other, depending on what feels good in your body right now. And breathing into what you feel. And slowly now, tuck the back toes, straighten the back leg, and take a big step forward to the top of your mat, hanging over the legs. Take a few breaths here, releasing through the spine and the sacrum. And if it feels good, begin to rock side to side. Good, and now take your right leg back into dragon on the second side, dropping the knee down, lengthening up through the chest as your hands come to the floor on either side of your front foot. Breathe. Feel the length happening in the front of the right hip, the hip flexors, the psoas buried deep inside the front of the hip. Sensing into the little bit of a back bend that's also happening here as your sacrum softens into the body. And can you take a big breath into this part of the body? And as you exhale, soften down a little more through the right thigh. Slowly now step back to make your way into child's pose. Sending the hips back toward the heels. Resting and breathing here. And slowly come up and make your way to a seated position with wide legs for dragonfly. Your legs can be somewhat wide or wider, and it really depends on what feels good for your body as you come forward and find a stretch in the inner thighs, and you might also feel a stretch in the backs of the legs. Your hands could be on the floor in front of you or out on the legs or on the feet. And you may very well wish to use props, if you have any, to put under your chest or your elbows or your head. Wherever you are, find a breath into the body now. And as you exhale, let your spine soften. Relax your legs and thighs. Slowly now rise up and take the legs into a cross-legged position. And take the arms to your sides, sweep them up over your head. And as you exhale, twist to your right, taking your left hand to the outside of the knee and your right hand behind you on the floor. And feel your spine twisting as you lift up through the crown of your head to find length in the spine. And now inhale, forward, reach the arms overhead once again, and twist to the second side. Once again, rising up through the crown of the head, inhale. And as you exhale, release back to the center. Now we'll come into some side stretches for the spine. Take your left leg out to the side and keep your right foot into your inner upper thigh. I'm going to take the left hand onto the leg and peel the right shoulder back and come down the leg, letting the hand come maybe to the ankle or the foot. And now this other hand can maybe come down onto the hip and just rest, or maybe it rests behind the back. And another option is to have this arm come up and reach over the head, which will give an extra side body stretch. All these variations will laterally stretch the fascia of the spinal column. And some people even like to have this hand behind the head. Option to use a block under your left elbow and to clasp the hands behind the head. Wherever you are, see if you can soften into gravity. Breathe into what you feel. Slowly now come up with the spine upright. Take the other leg in and extend your right leg out to the side. And take your hand down the leg as you roll your left shoulder open and start to come sideways down toward the leg. Choosing whether you'd like your free hand to be on the hip, resting down, or behind the back, or up and over the head. Optionally, hand behind the head, perhaps both hands behind the head and a block under the elbow. Remembering the target area is the spine, side stretching the spinal column, side stretching to affect the fascia of the trunk, the torso, both along the spine and on the outer lateral part. And you breathe into this stretch. And slowly now rising back up. And as you come up, let's come onto hands and knees for some cat and cow to move energy through the spine. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Find a back bend as you inhale, lift your gaze. Exhale, round the spine, tuck the chin. Inhale to the back bend. And exhale, round. Inhale, forward. Exhale, round. And find a seated position for your choice of saddle or reclined butterfly. So if you're taking the easier version, then it's reclined butterfly, soles of the feet together, lying back. And you could choose to lie back over a bolster or a couple blocks if you have those handy. And if you're taking saddle pose, same option to use a bolster or blocks behind you, sitting between the feet or on top of the feet and resting back. Whichever pose you're in, your arm options are overhead or down at your sides or out in a T. Remembering our principles of yin yoga to find the edge, to find the pose that's not too intense, making sure that we can still feel relaxed and still breathe. And then to find stillness and to spend time here. Feeling the steady flow of breath in and out. And now slowly start to come up, releasing whichever pose you're in, and making your way to your back, hugging your knees in toward your chest, and gently rocking side to side. And now for our next pose, the choice is figure 4 with the right knee, right ankle over the left knee, clasping behind the thigh or in front of the shin, or coming up to seated for square pose with the right shin on top of the left. In either case, we're stretching into the right glutes, breathing into what you feel. Softly unfolding into this shape so that tension in the fascia can melt away. And now we'll slowly come up from whichever pose you're in, changing sides. So left ankle over the right if you're in figure 4, and left ankle on top of the right knee if you are in square pose. Now we're targeting the left buttock, the left outer hip. Breathing into the glutes and all the layers of fascia that extend from the sacrum to the outer hip joint. Slowly release and come up to extend your legs forward and come all the way down onto your back. And on your back, have your knees bent with your feet flat on the ground. We'll do some bridge pose lifts. So have your feet about hips distance away from one another. And we'll start to tuck the tailbone, engage the glutes, and lift up. And this is a great thing to do after those last postures, stretching into the glutes. Now we're squeezing the muscles and release back down, hips to the floor. Let's do that 2 more times. Lift it up. And release down. 1 more time. Lift up, squeeze the buttocks, and release. Wonderful. Now let's come into our last pose, which is spinal twist. Taking both knees up and over to the right side, and adjust your hips so you can feel balanced as you roll all the way on to the outside edge of your right foot, your left arm out to the left side, and option to cross left knee over the right. Maybe you like having both arms out to either side, or maybe you like resting your right hand on top of your knees. And breathing into your twist. As you feel this opening in the left side of the chest, that also happens here. The fascia of the spine twisting, the discs of the spine, which are made up primarily of fascia. They are being kind of wrung out in this pose, stimulated and awakened. Nice deep breath into the ribs. Exhale. Now slowly release. Bring the legs up to center. Switch to the other side. Knees in and over to the left. Option to have left hand on the knees or out to the side. Option to cross right knee over left. And breathe into your body. Breathe into your spine. And slowly unwinding as the knees come back to center. Straighten out your hips and your shoulders on the mat. Extend the legs. Let the arms come to a comfortable angle along the side of the body. And find your Shavasana. Take a big breath in. Open your mouth, sigh it out. 2 more times. Big breath. Inhale. Now resting in quiet and stillness to absorb the healing benefits of this practice. And now take a deeper breath into the belly and into the heart. And as you exhale, gently wiggle your fingers and toes and stretch out into your arms and legs. Inhale a big breath. Exhale, bend the knees and roll over to one side to slowly come up into a seated position. Sitting with crossed legs, with your arms down alongside of your body. And let's inhale, scoop the arms out and up. As the palms meet, lift your gaze. Exhale, pull the hands down in front of the heart. And that is the close of our practice today. Thank you so much for practicing with Devi Daily Yoga. If you enjoyed this practice, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and check out my free Yin Yoga guidebook, which is available at guidebook.devidaily.com. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video.